Baby Josha arrived in Washington, D.C. about 3 weeks ahead of the Peace Child, but the two arrivals were closely linked because Josha's parents, Bill and Josie Jordan, were, in a very real sense, also the parents of Peace Child here in America. They were our first backers. From any reasonable standpoint, they must have felt crazy to risk $10,000 on this unknown British musical, but they had faith in the vision which is Peace Child. Their faith inspired others, and within 3 short months, we were able to raise an audience of 2,500 people and fill the Kennedy Center Concert Hall for a spectacular American premiere in the nation's capital.
The purpose of Peace Child has evolved. We thought when we started out doing it that this was a show that's going to be like Godspell. But as we did it, we recognized that the value in the show was for the people doing it, for the kids that became involved, that experienced the show. And so we have set up the Peace Child Foundation to promote the show as an educational learning vehicle for kids.
A lot of times you can think of this world as being very dark and dim, and it just kind of brings a spark of light, something to hope for.
It sounded like a good show for my kids. It had a lot of production numbers, which is the first thing I look for. It was a story that could appeal to kids, had a nice storyline. It had a lot of parts, and that's what I look for in a show at first.
Start again!
Betty May and the Teens on Stage group are one of a growing number of school, church and community groups who've taken up the challenge of producing Peace Child, investing in it their own hopes and dreams for a peaceful world. There have been several hundred productions throughout America. Betty's company recently took the show on a European tour. But where did it all begin?
They were about this size, but one bomb this big dropped here could kill everybody in London.
Peace Child was born in London in 1981 as a celebration for the United Nations Disarmament Week. The key to the show is that it is all set in a future peaceful world, so that it looks at the problems of today from the perspective of a world that has already solved them. Susanna York played the part of the storyteller who tries to explain the insanity of the current arms race to incredulous children of the year 2025.
Oh, well, grown-ups are very good at turning their backs on things they don't want to think about.
I wouldn't. Nor would I.
Well, you're a child. You're children. That's just it. It took the mind of a child to see into the madness of the grown-ups.
Peace Child?
Yes, the Peace Child.
Who was the Peace Child?
There are, in fact, 2 of them, a Russian girl and an American boy who find they share a pressing concern.
Do they think there'll be a war on your side?
Yes, my father says it's certain. When the problems of the world get so difficult, it's going to be easy one day just to push a button. No more world. What'll it be like? It doesn't tell me that.
It really worries you, doesn't it? Yeah, it gets to me too. I lie in my bed at night and can't even sleep thinking about it. But you know what worries me the most? See, I don't think either of our countries are crazy enough to declare war with nuclear bombs. I do think one of them's going to go off by accident.
Yes, the whole world could die because of a silly accident.
It really gets to you, doesn't it?
The roles of Bobby and Katya are a fine challenge for 13 to 14-year-olds, drawing as much on their spirit and their personality as on their performing talent.
I'd like to be old, like grandmother, and tell my grandchildren stories. I'd like to travel, make friends, meet people, and I want to live.
I want to live. I want to live. The right to live my life. I want to search far and wide. Have the chance
kids decide the issue is so important, they must go public with their friendship. They meet a celebrity and persuade her to sneak them on to a popular TV talk show.
Katya, what a beautiful name. Where are you from, Katya?
I'm from the Soviet Union.
A little commie on my show. Hey, I bet you Merv and Johnny haven't done that yet. A brand new rock star from the Soviet Union. Go ahead, kids.
We're friends.
Yes, and our presidents are enemies.
But we want them to be friends.
Because if they were friends, we wouldn't need any nuclear bombs.
And then they could send each other flowers.
No, wait! Get the boy out. It's serious. Very serious. I don't want to die. There are hundreds of millions of people on this planet. They don't want to die either.
I don't want to die. I want the billions and billions of people to stand up and tell those leaders, no, we don't want your bombs. We want you to stop making any more and get rid of the ones you've already got. What? It's a story. We really got a story. Headline story. We really get a story. It's a story. We really got a story. Headline story. We really get a story.
It's for you. It's the president.
Mr. President.
From this point on, the children's fame leads them up into the world of high politics. They meet with their leaders and begin to understand the appalling complexity of the problems and the pressures that they work under. They realize that there is no magic cure-all solution. They cling to their conviction that friendship on a human level is possible, reminding their leaders that they were children once. They persuade them to take their families and go on holiday together, to try to get to know each other.
Let's do it! Yeah!
I was a child who ran full of laughter. I was a child who lived for today. My eyes full of sunshine, my heart full of smiles. I was a child for a day. Oh, we're getting older. As time goes by, a little older every day. We are the children of yesterday.
People always say, well, you know, where are you from and stuff. I say, I'm Russian. And the first thing people always have done to me is say, oh, you're communist. And I'm like, I'm totally American. I just happen to be Russian by heritage. And that was always my attitude. I would defend myself. No, I'm not communist. I'm not communist. I'm not Russian. It's just my birth. And I would explain how my grandfather escaped. I mean, we hate Russia just as much as you. And then now, after being in this play, I realized that I don't have to defend myself. There's nothing wrong with being Russian. It's wonderful.
We're starting Peace Child as a grassroots phenomena, which may someday arrive on Broadway, and that'd be great. You know, I'd love to think of a musical like Peace Child playing Broadway with a chorus of 100 young children dressed in white with ribbons and so on. That'd be a beautiful show. But the importance of Peace Child is more for the children that experience it.
You are afraid of each other. You do not know each other. Bobby and I, we are not frightened. We have gotten to know each other, become friends. And we want all of the children of the world to become friends. It has the ability of being adapted to any person that plays any of the roles. Like, each person can make that character really theirs. And no matter what is done with the script, no matter what is done with the music, with the characters, the beauty of the show still stays.
Because it deals with young people's most pressing fears, Peace Child productions tend to get extensive and sympathetic coverage by the media.
How do you talk to children about the reality of nuclear war? Perhaps with song and dance. This week, some 14,000 district students became the first in the country to see a rock musical called Peace Child. Its message, all of us, young and old, can be peacemakers.
It made me think a lot about it. I hadn't really thought about war or World War III, but it made me think a lot.
Before, you know, I was more worried about how my hair was going to look the next day. But, you know, now that I'm in it, I'm thinking, you know, this really could happen.
If you watch kids watching something about the day after, they feel anger. They feel impotence. I think when they watch Peace Child, they feel, hey, there's something can be done here, you know, and we're going to make sure that something is done.
I want the chance to see it all.
As there have been more and more Peace Child productions around the country, it's encouraging to note how many different ways there are to achieve the same effect with this show. You don't have to spend huge amounts on a Kennedy Center-style production to put this message across. Simpler productions are often just as impactful.
Peace Child, you need a good musical director, you need a choreographer, you need someone like me to pull together the overall direction of the play, and you need kids. You need kids aged somewhere between 7 and 17, and you need preferably a lot of them. It's the mass of kids putting out this message, this plea for peace, that really carries the impact of the show.
Mr. President,
every show, I cry. And people say, how can you still cry? You've done the show 50 times, you're still crying. I say, yeah, I'm still crying. In Geneva, it was a 10-hanky show. I started crying at the beginning of the show, and I cried for about an hour afterwards. There's just something very touching, very moving about children pleading for peace. Children pleading for their lives.
We brought Josha to the Kennedy Center in the Snuggly with us, and as we were arriving, there was a traffic jam. And I knew that the production was timed at an odd hour. It was not the regular hour for the Kennedy Center. And I knew that all these cars were coming to Peace Child. And I was just so excited.
I think this play is going to become real. I mean, if you'd asked me 3 years ago, would I stick with the same play for 3 years, I would have said that's ridiculous. I used to do a new play or a new film, you know, every month. The reason I've stuck with Peace Child is that I think this story can come true. I think that there can be peace between the Soviet Union and the United States. I think there can be a fabulous cooperation between these two great superpowers. And I think that, as Isaiah said, a little child shall lead them.